Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to invite now Amanda Leduc to come up. And Amanda is currently a fourth-year student, so she's going to be graduating this year in Management Sciences Engineering. And she's been very, very involved with both our outreach program and our Women in Engineering program since she became sort of first-year undergraduate student. And she's been very active in a number of different areas. So I think she's really a role model for what engineers can be and can do. And so we've invited her here today to talk to you a little bit of what her experience is, and if she was to think back, what she would sort of advice she would give to young women that are sort of in high school right now. So, Amanda?
All right, so as Mary said, my name is Amanda Leduc, and I'm going to give you I'm going to try and keep it short, just a little discussion about my experience here. So I'm calling it non-traditional. That's a picture of me 2 summers ago. A bunch of undergraduate students decided that to raise money for Alzheimer's, we were going to dye our entire bodies purple. So I raised over $100, which means I had to dye everything, my face included. So this is me right after the purpling. You can look forward to this if you come here. So the game plan for today, I'll tell you a little bit about me so you can kind of establish a connection. And then how did I end up in engineering at UW? What have I been up to these past 4 years? What has my life been like? What have I been doing on co-op? What's coming next for me since I'm graduating soon? Some closing thoughts if I could go back and talk to grade 10 Amanda. And then we'll have a brief QA period. So a little bit about me. I'm an undergrad at UW in Management Engineering. I enrolled in September 2007, which was when the program first started being offered, and I'll be graduating this April 2012. I'm from Timmins, Ontario, if you guys know where that is, about 9 hours north of here. And yes, we have a whole lot of snow. So I come from a 4-person family. My dadzy is a retired helicopter industry entrepreneur, pilot, and aircraft maintenance engineer. I say engineer because he has like one of those college certificates, but I looked, it actually says engineer. But I maintain that he is not because he doesn't have a university degree from an accredited program, but that's our own little thing. My mom's a homemaker and she does a lot of volunteer fundraising, and I have one little sister who's 2 years younger than me, who I tried to get to go into engineering, but she decided to go into kinesiology, but at least she came to UW, so that's kind of a win. So how did I end up in engineering? How I came to choose engineering at UW is quite a long story, and growing up, my career choices changed all the time. If you'd asked grade 1 Amanda, I would have told you that I wanted to be a ballerina princess. I'm not gonna lie, I still want to be a ballerina princess. If in grade 5, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher because I liked kids, particularly the little ones. And in grade 8, stem cells were big news, so that I wanted to be a research biologist. Then in grade 11, after having dissected a fetal pig in biology class, I decided I wanted to be a doctor. But that didn't last too long because I forgot how much needles and IVs really gross me out. So that kind of died. And then my first round of grade 12, I was kind of getting closer. I realized that I was pretty good at math and science, but I also wanted to be creative. So I kind of settled in on architecture. I thought I really wanted to be an architect. But then I realized I'm really not artistic and I can't draw. So that one also had to go out the window. And then I was one of those kids who did a victory lap of high school, so grade 12, round 2. So grade 12, round 2 came along, and I finally kind of found this. I was looking around for programs that piqued my interest, couldn't really find much, and then I ran across this management engineering program at UW, and I couldn't really find much information about it because it was new and we were the only ones in Canada, but from what little I could find, I decided, well, this looks good. So I signed up and never looked back, and that's how I got here. So what has life been like for me these past 4 years? So first year, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Actually, it was first year. It was amazing to meet so many people that I had so much in common with. Because you see, in high school, I succeeded academically, and I sat on every committee I could possibly sit on, like most of you probably do, you're very involved. But I only had a few close friends. I really didn't fit in well in high school, it wasn't my place. So then when I came here and met all these other students who were just like me, it was phenomenal. In first year, I also worked really, really hard. Because on some level, I know I didn't think I was as smart as my classmates. And I think that this is a thing that a lot of females who start, it's the way we feel. We feel like maybe we're not as smart for some reason. We don't really believe in ourselves. But then I learned that I have a really good work ethic, and I do have a pretty decent amount of brain power, and that I can compete with the best and brightest boys and girls in my program. So I kind of had to overcome that thing. I also took yoga and Argentine tango in first year. At home, I started dancing when I was 4 until I was 18 and graduated high school. So when I came to university, I kind of wanted to keep some of that going just to stay active and stay moving. And I found that that was a really good thing to maintain my sanity. So staying involved and just kind of keep doing those extracurriculars that you like to do even when you get to university is a very good idea. So the picture on the bottom, that's your left, that's my class. That's at the very beginning of our second year. Our department chair invited us out to her house. And so that's my we're a small class. That's my 40-person class. And the picture on the right this is actually at Halloween, believe it or not. There was a costume contest, and I decided that my friends and I were all going to dress up like Christmas for Halloween. So there we are, entering the group Halloween contest. We won. Well, we were the only group that entered, but we still won. So second year until now, what have I been up to? I got involved in the Engineering Society, which is basically like a really big student council for all undergrads at UW. And this caused me to meet a lot of great people I probably wouldn't have met, because all these people were outside of my discipline. Because in first year, I mostly just had friends in management engineering. But once you get involved in EngSoc, now I have friends in every discipline of engineering, and that has been a really wonderful thing. Where was I? Right. So as the years have gone by, I've gotten increasingly more involved in the Engineering Society. I've held a whole bunch of directorships. I've been a Women in Engineering director 3 times, and that's been really great. That's how I kind of got involved in these things. I've been an explorations director, if any of you have been to that. I've been a poets manager. Poets is like our student lounge space, and so there's always 4 poets managers, and we put the movies on and stuff. So on my days, which was Wednesday, we always used to watch girly movies like Disney movies and princess movies. The guys just loved it. It was great. And then I started to get involved in recruiting things. So now I also do things like I'll be at the Ontario University's Fair next year talking to prospective grade 12 students. So I found that I really enjoy doing this outreach side of things, because being from Timmins, we don't really have much outreach, and I felt like I would have loved to have someone talk to me and tell me what an engineer does, what I should consider. So that's why I like to do these things, like to reach out to you girls and hopefully give you that advice. And so at the bottom, engineers, we're not all about working. The bottom left is one of our term parties in Poets. This theme was, I think, 2 years ago, and the theme was I'm on a boat. So I dressed up like a captain. And then on the bottom right, that was just this past winter, the Engineering Society organized a trip to Blue Mountain. We filled a whole school bus with a bunch of us, left at like 8 in the morning and came back at 11 at night, and got a full day of snowboarding and skiing in. So that's a bunch of my friends and I at the top of Blue Mountain on our Engineering Society trip. So co-op, what have my co-ops been? So part of the reason I chose management engineering was because even though I had wanted to be a doctor and realized like I just could not deal with needles and stuff, I still was really interested in healthcare. So I came into it with the idea of I want to improve healthcare from an efficiency standpoint. And I was really lucky. My first co-op, I actually got hired right out of first round by St. Michael's Hospital, and I worked there as a project coordinator. And I actually ended up returning to that job for my second co-op. And basically what they do there is they hire 3 students every term, divide the hospital into thirds, and each one of the students is responsible for certain departments. So like my first term, I had the ER, the baby factory, aka like the place where women give birth and stuff, and the helipad and the psych ward, all these places. So anytime they needed a project done, whether it was just have these walls repainted or like we need a whole clinic renovation, they would contact us, we'd go estimate the job, get the workers, get it approved, supervise it, make sure it was done right, do the design work. So it was a phenomenal job, and I ended up going back again to St. Michael's. My third co-op, I just really wanted to go to Calgary. So I took a job with CFMS Alberta. It was actually a mechanical engineering job, which is kind of cool because just because you're in one type of engineering doesn't mean that you can't do a co-op in another type. So I decided I want to try out mechanical. So I took that job out in Calgary. These 2 pictures are actually from my work term in Calgary. The first one is me in Banff. We were actually recommissioning a building out in Banff, so I got to go out there for the day and work. And then the second one, we were recommissioning the new Holt Renfrew in Calgary. It was amazing. $60 million renovation, and like I'm running around checking to make sure the temperature's working right, like surrounded by Gucci purses, and oh my God, wonderful working conditions. Loved that. My third one, I went back to healthcare. I decided I missed hospitals, but then after that one, I decided, okay, no more hospitals. So I'm done now with hospitals, and then I went to Open Options, which is a company in town, and they do strategy consulting. So I was working for them. I kind of just became the jack of all trades there. Anything that needed done, whether it was IT stuff or doing sales calls. I kind of just did the gamut, and that was really great. And I'm currently on co-op right now. I'm on my 6th and final co-op, and I am working at ZS Associates, which is a company in Toronto. They're a management consulting firm, so they do a lot of work for pharmaceutical companies, Salesforce sizing, and like market research stuff. So I'm staffed on a market research project for a pharma company. And basically the whole idea is they gave me a whole chunk of data and said, okay, you have to tell us what this means. Do the people like us? Do they not like us? What do they like about us? What do they like about our competitors? So I'm currently just pumping out graphs and trying to make sense of all these data points. So what's next for me since I'm graduating soon? Well, I have 2 options. The first is to join the real world, which absolutely terrifies me. That would mean getting a job, making money, but I like money, so that could be good. And then stop living like a gypsy and moving every 4 months. Because with co-op, that's how we live. We're here, we're there, we're moving all the time. So it'd be nice to settle in somewhere and maybe get a puppy. I've always wanted a puppy. The other option is to go to grad school, which would be great. It's kind of like hitting the snooze button on life for another 2 years. Just keep living in my happy academic bubble where everything is good. I'm comfortable. I know I'm good at school, so I could just kind of keep going along with that. I'm looking at staying in Canada if I do that, but I haven't quite decided where or what I'm going to take. So that's kind of the crossroads I find myself at now. Go work, go do grad school. We'll figure it out in the next little bit. So closing thoughts. If I could travel back in time and talk to grade 10 Amanda, this is what I would tell her. High school is academically easy and socially difficult. University will be exactly the opposite and you will thrive there. Here I'm challenged academically, but socially I have so many friends and so many other geeks like me. It's great. The second one is I know you enjoy history and psychology classes, but you're also naturally talented at math and science. So keep taking them to keep your options open for university. Because you're going to go on to grade 12 and you're still not going to know what you're going to do. So you're going to make 7 university applications and then you're going to get accepted with scholarships to all of them. But that's only because you kept your options open and you could apply to everything. So it's a good thing to do. Listen to your parents when they say you'd make a great engineer and that you're every bit as smart as they seem to think you are. My parents kept telling me, Amanda, you'd make a great engineer. I said, no, engineers are boring. Here I am. This one may not apply to everyone, but I used to be very self-conscious about my height. So I would also tell myself, your height is a blessing. You'll soon grow into your really awkward body and stop looking so weird all the time. So wear heels and stand up straight, for goodness sake. And the last one is to be confident in who you are. It'll make you stand out amongst your peers and bring amazing opportunities your way. And I really have to say that I think part of the reason that I've really thrived here and I've gotten great co-ops is my confidence. Once I got into my element here, I started to really build my confidence, and that comes across when you're in an interview for a co-op job or whether you're addressing people at an engineering society meeting. Confidence is what wins it over for you. So really, I know it sounds cheesy, but believe in yourself and all that stuff. So that just wraps up what I wanted to talk about. So it's now question and answer period. You can ask me pretty much anything. Nothing's off limits, and I will answer as honestly as I possibly can. Do we have questions?
What's the current proportions of girls and guys in your class?
So management engineering, I think we're a little higher than average. We have 7 girls out of 38 total in my class.
What about for engineering in general in Waterloo?
So I can get to that. So right now, actually this year coming into engineering, it's 20% female overall and then 80% men. There's definitely some programs though where it's a much higher percentage of female than male.
Chemical, for example?
Higher than the 20%, not higher than men, but.
What about graduating?
Graduating, I think it actually gets a little bit higher because we find that from a success perspective, women tend to be a little bit more successful. Like the big thing is first year and getting through first year. So we find that there's this lower fraction of women that leave engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's partially because many young women are underconfident. So when they apply, like if we say you need an 80 average, many young women say, I'm not going to apply unless I've got an 85 average. Because they feel to be successful, they would need that. Whereas many young men, if they got a 65, they'll still apply because it's that overconfidence type thing. So, overconfident ability. And I'm sure it changes over time. So.
Any other questions? If not, I came up with some just in case these are things that could be on your mind. So any of those? Oh.
Your co-op placements, does the university assist in those? Or should it be
Yeah. So the way it works is we kind of have it's called JobMine, and it's basically kind of like an online job application site just for Waterloo. So employers post jobs up there looking for co-op students. They indicate the discipline they're looking for. They indicate whether they want a junior, intermediate, senior student. And it's very easy. We log on, and it's basically like one-step apply. We upload our resumes, apply, and then the companies actually usually come to campus. We have a whole building with like a ton of little wee interview rooms, and so they come to campus and we do all our interviews here. So it's all very run by the university. We don't have to go out and find our own. Yes?
Does all jobs involve engineering?
Do all jobs involve engineering? Well, it's kind of hard to nail down what exactly engineering is because we do so many things. I can tell you the job I'm at now at ZS Associates is not traditional engineering work. I work in an office and I work with Excel a lot and a lot of ZS proprietary software. So I'm not out, I don't wear a hard hat, I'm not out on construction sites, I'm not working in a lab. I work at a computer, and they hire a lot of engineers, they hire some economics grads. So I don't know if you'd consider it true engineering. So I would say a lot of the jobs, they're not typical engineering. You're still applying that analytical knowledge and problem-solving skills, but it's not your typical engineering doing, these like calculations and stuff. Yes. On which one? The first two?
One other question up here. Somebody else has a question before you, over there.
For co-op, like you have an all-year discipline, like maybe 100 students looking for jobs. Does anybody ever have a problem getting a co-op job?
It does happen, yeah, and it's usually more like 2,000 engineers looking for a job. Yes, it does happen, more so in first year, I would say, if you don't have much experience. And in first year, you're not as confident going out and interviewing. But we have 6 terms in which we have to do co-op placements, but you only have to complete 5 of them. So it happens, some of my friends didn't get co-op jobs in first year, and it's not the end of the world. You can go out, some of them found their own and like volunteered, and that counts for a placement. You don't have to be getting paid. You can volunteer with one of the student teams, like Mary was talking about the clean fuel car. You can volunteer on a co-op with them, and that will count for a co-op credit for you. But you only have to do 5 of the 6. So it sometimes happens, but there's a lot of measures in place to make sure that you do get your credit. So it's not really an issue that you won't graduate because you cannot get a job.
Maybe I can elaborate on that. So again, typically it's the first year that's the most difficult because you're just starting, and many young people will not have any work experience at all. But like in terms of the stats, it's sort of just over 90% typically. And but for the other years, by second year, it's sort of 99% placement. So, which is great considering that we've expanded the program. Like this year, we have 1,500 engineering students that have just started. So the numbers have gone up, and it's not just in Canada. There's a lot of international placements as well, going to the States, going to Europe, going to Asia, and things like that. So we have maybe 10 or 15% of our students that will go off on an international work experience.
Sort of as a supplement, you obviously get paid, not asking how much or anything, obviously, but does it help with tuition?
Yes, I can tell you that last term I finally was making enough that I made enough to cover my living expenses on my co-op and to pay for school the next term. So I made enough to cover 8 months of rent, $5,000 tuition, books, eating, yes. So at St. Mike's, my first 2, the way it kind of goes is there's a salary survey, and so you can look that up on this one of the websites, and it shows what the average salary is for students in which program in which year. So the way, for example, St. Mike's does it is they pay you in the 80th percentile of whatever work term you're having. So my first co-op term with them, I was making $15.95 an hour, and my second one, I was making $17.40. Not bad from when I was in Timmins. I was waitressing at about liquor servers minimum, so $7 an hour. Pretty good improvement. I believe you were next. You wanted the first 2? Yeah. So what's it like being a female when only 18% undergrads are female? In my opinion, it's amazing. I love it. I never feel like when we go out, for pub nights or something like that, I never feel more safe than when I'm going out with all my engineering friends because, I know, engineering's kind of like a family. When you come in and you're a female, it's like you're getting like 1,000 brothers. So it's phenomenal. They're always there to look out for you. They've got your back. Yes, in first year, you kind of have to prove yourself to prove that, you can compete with them. But once that's over, you're on the same level of respect. They're great. I like being a female in an 18% female place. Who wouldn't? And have I ever faced adversity? For me, I would say no, I haven't. All my co-op placements have been One of them was I was on construction sites in Calgary, but I never really had any issues because we were the consultants, we weren't the trades. So when we would come through, everyone would straighten up and let us walk by and clean up the way they were talking. So I've never faced adversity. I know some people, some girls have. It does still kind of happen, but generally, I don't really think it's much of a problem anymore. I have one of my cousins, Kaylee, graduated from engineering at University of Ottawa when I started, but otherwise, no. I have no engineers in my family other than my dad, who claims to be an engineer, but I disagree. So yeah, I'm one of the 30% who doesn't have a close family member in engineering. Go ahead.
When you pick management engineering, but in the engineering area, actually there are lots of disciplines like civil engineering, electric. For group, then which kind of suggestion you will give? See, for group should pick which kind of discipline?
I don't think it matters what discipline you pick should come down to whether you're male or female. I think that it's more about what drives you, what interests you. The reason I picked management, I was really involved in leadership stuff in high school. Like I said, I sat on every committee you can possibly think of, but I was also good at math and science, so I was looking for something that would use my analytic abilities, but that I would also be working with people in kind of like a leadership role, and I am a stickler for efficiency and optimization. I hate things that if there's a better way to do something, it bugs me if people are not doing it. So that's why management was the perfect fit for me, because we're basically efficiency experts. We go into all types of businesses and make them more efficient. So that's why I picked it. But I don't think it should come down to male, this is a better one for females, this is a better one for males.
And I might just add to that point, again, whether you study civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, the basics of the problem-solving abilities, the quantitative abilities are the same. So it doesn't mean if you study civil engineering forever you will be designing bridges. We've seen engineers that do civil engineering that end up finally working more in the electrical field or more in the mechanical field. So I know a lot of people get really stressed, I don't know what department to choose, but it's not that big a deal in terms of flexibility. So. Mm-hmm. And as you saw with Amanda's experience, she was studying management engineering, but then she ended up doing one co-op term in more mechanical, let's say. So.
Yes?
What would you say has been your single greatest challenge in the last 4 years?
Oh boy. Single greatest challenge in 4 years. Probably in first year, I didn't realize how important sleep was. And I used to sleep about 4 to 5 hours a night, and I thought that I was functioning okay. And then I'd go to class in the morning, and I was kind of sitting there like this all the time. Yeah. So I think my greatest challenge was surviving first year on little sleep, and then when I did my first co-op at St. Michael's Hospital, I was working with one of the girls you'll meet this afternoon, and she taught me the value of sleep and that you should sleep 8 hours a night. And so then now that I realize sleep is important, it is finding the 8 hours a night to sleep, because I'm always so busy with everything. So I'd say that's probably the lack of sleep and then finding out how to sleep. Yes? So the question is, what courses in high school if I knew I was going to be an engineer, what would I have looked back and taken? So I took, I don't know if all your high schools have this, but the drafting and technological design course. I went to a vocational school, so half the school was like a shop. So we had technological design. That was really helpful because in first year, almost every discipline learns AutoCAD, and I knew AutoCAD better than my prof, so that was handy. Obviously, take all your maths and all your sciences. Those are handy to have. I took all 3 maths, all 3 sciences. Which was good. The only science that if you don't have time to take would be if you're not going into chemical or nano, you probably don't need to worry about biology. That one you never really see. But chemistry and physics are really important. So is calculus, geometry, and vectors. And for me, we do a lot of probability work. So the data management course was also useful, but depending on your discipline, it might not be. The only course that I didn't take that looking back, I wish I would have, we kind of had introduction to programming courses. And I didn't take any of those computer courses, and in second term, you learn how to program, and I found that actually would probably be another one of my biggest challenges. Learning how to program was really, really, really difficult for me because I'd never done it before, and it was kind of demoralizing. On the midterm, the class average was 40%. I got a 38, which really, really hurt, and most of the people who hadn't programmed, we were all in the same boat. It's one of those things you keep working on, and by the end, the night before, I just had that epiphany moment and everything clicked. So I went through, did well on the final. So the prof, when students do that, they don't usually count the midterm. So I still ended up coming out okay. So taking programming or some sort of that type of course would be amazing. What are classes like when I'm not on co-op? Classes here are a little bit different than most universities because we have like the homeroom system. So when I started in first year with my 80 classmates, we had a classroom that we sat in, and it was only us in our classroom, and the profs would come to us. So I found classes, they were challenging academically, but it was kind of nice in that all my courses were with the same people, so we could all kind of keep track of due dates together, work on projects together. It wasn't like, well, this person's in this class and this person's in this class. No, we were all in all the same classes together. So it will be academically challenging because high school may not be challenging for you, so get ready for that. But it's nice. I found it really supportive. And in first year, they really want you to succeed. There's full-time TAs, upper year students like me, who they hire, and they're there to help you. Full-time, that is their job. So, yeah. Yes. Yeah, in Waterloo, you do have to specify in first year, like when you're applying. Depending on what you pick, it might not be that difficult to change after a few terms. But like I said, it doesn't really matter what you're in. You can probably get a job just about anywhere. And further to that, I highly recommend you go to our prospective students website, and we have a quiz that was developed by yours truly based on one of my data mining courses. I got 600 current students to fill out a survey, and then we went through and found what are the trends that we seem to see with people in management engineering. What are they like? Personality, values, interests. Not, do you like bridges? Do you like steel? So that could be a good starting point. I think it's pretty good. You do have to.
From the university viewpoint, how do they select students? Like, if they want to select a civil engineer or and the management engineering, what's the difference for they select those students?
Well, so as Amanda said, at Waterloo, there are some other programs where they have what they call a common first year. So you don't have to select, but at Waterloo you do need to select, and there's some advantages to that. But I mean, so when you apply, you would need to say, I want to go into management engineering, or I want to go into civil engineering. So then at the university, we then see all the people that want to go into management engineering, and then it's a combination of the academics in terms of, like the physics, the math, the English, and things like that. But in addition, you have to fill out what's called an AIF form, sort of an information form about activities and things like that. So that's also taken into consideration. So each program will have a certain number of spots that we can fill.
So that's where all your extracurriculars at Waterloo, they actually see that. So they see that you sat on student council, they see what books you're reading, and that kind of helps to your advantage. Significantly harder. I can tell you in high school, when I graduated and came here, I had a 90 average. And in first year, I dropped down to a 71 average. I didn't fail anything. I just, I found it a lot more challenging. It depends what high school you come from. I didn't have any AP classes or IB, or some of the kids in my class took A levels, so they didn't find it that much of a challenge because like they are basically our first calculus course they'd already covered. Whereas I got there and they drew an integral on the board. I'm like, what's that? So it depends where you came from in high school. If you're just regular Ontario curriculum, it's going to be a big jump, but it is doable and there's lots of help there for you.
I think maybe we'll take. I think we're sort of a little bit over time, but there will be a student panel at the lunch. So save your questions, and then Amanda will be at the student panel.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to cut it off, but we need to sort of move on in the program. So thank you so much, Amanda.